calling Garrett, freaking out, like crying. A lot of the feelings are coming back right now, and my heart's like exploding right now. Hi! Welcome back to my channel. My name is Arij if you're new, and I make videos that document my self-growth. And today's video is going to be, I'm like so nervous, which is why I might be talking a bit weird. I know that today's video is gonna be kind of difficult to film because it's basically a story of the worst day of my life. That day was horrendous for me personally, like emotionally. It was very, very traumatic and very painful, and I know it's going to be hard for me to put myself back into the headspace of where I was that day, but there's also a strong pull for me to make this video and to talk about it because I feel like it's time for me to move on. It's time for me to accept what happened and forgive everyone who was involved that I felt hurt by that day. And I think that the best way for me to do so is to speak about it, because that has worked for me in the past. So yes, today I will be making a video about the day that my parents, my Pakistani Muslim parents, found out about my white non-Muslim boyfriend. There's going to be a couple other story time videos that I'm going to make that also relate to the situation of this conflict that I've had with my family over the past few years, but they're going to be in their own videos. So I'm going to start off by giving you some background. So my boyfriend Garrett and we started dating in first year university. We met in October. So university started in September, we met in October, and we hit it off instantly. We clicked, and like the first day we met, we pretty much started hanging out every single day after that, because we were both at the beginning of our university careers. We didn't really have any other friends, so because we like vibed so well with each other, we just never stopped spending time with each other from that first day. We got close really fast, and our relationship progressed very quickly, and a couple months in, I was 100% sure that this was the person that I was going to, if not the rest of my life, I was definitely going to be spending a big part of my life. There is not really any words to explain it. We just work really well with each other. Our personalities match, like the way that we solve conflicts match, the way that we communicate, our love languages, everything like that just like matched with each other, and I knew that this was a serious thing. If you're curious about more of the details of how we met, how everything went down, etc., I made another video about this a little while ago, so you can go check that out. I'll link it on the video, either here or here, I don't remember, and also in the description. So yeah, we fell for each other like hard and fast. We just did, and in the back of my mind, I knew that this was going to cause issues because I grew up in a very strict family that cared a lot about religion, Islam, and cared a lot about culture. So I wasn't allowed to date, let alone date someone that was an outsider, like someone who didn't believe in the same things my family believed, was not from the culture, etc. So the first day actually that Garrett and I hung out, literally like we met on a bus, but we hung out properly a couple days later. And that first day we hung out, I made it very clear to him what my situation was and what kind of background I was coming from and what he could expect going into the future, like if we were to start a relationship, what that was gonna look like. I was very upfront and honest about it because I knew that I just had to be, because I knew that this situation was going to play a big factor in our lives going forward. Garrett's a very calm person, and his reaction was kind of just like, well, we'll see what happens, like we'll just take it as it comes. He wasn't scared, he wasn't repulsed by it. He was so understanding. Like, I still don't understand how understanding he was about it. He just got it right away, and throughout the whole journey, like, he's been very supportive. This isn't about him, so maybe I'll have him at some point where he can talk more in depth about his experience going through it, but this is about me, so I'm not gonna waste too much time talking about that. So another thing is that I was living 3 hours away from my parents. I was going to school in Kingston, Ontario, and my family lived in Toronto. So it made it kind of easier to start and continue this relationship with this person behind the backs of my family, because I just wasn't in the same city and I didn't post about it, nothing. So it was quite easy actually to keep it a secret. So I was like living it up in Kingston, like living my best life. But in the back of my mind and in the depths of my like chest, every single day I woke up with anxiety and unease, just in the anticipation of knowing that something was going to happen at some point related to this whole situation. My parents were going to find out somehow about it. I didn't necessarily think that I would get caught in a lie like I did, but I just knew like this was a very serious relationship. Like, we knew that we were gonna stay together. So I knew that I would have to tell my parents at some point. I don't know, 10 years from then, like 5 years from then, whatever. The truth was gonna come out at some point, and that thought terrified me because it's just not allowed. It's just not, you just can't do that. Like, my life growing up had a very strict and clear path. It was like, go to school, elementary school, middle school, high school, and then go to university, and then graduate university, get a good job, marry someone that is Pakistani and Muslim. Actually, my parents never, my mom always said that I didn't have to marry someone who was Pakistani, but they just had to be Muslim. And I remember her saying when I was in university, this is while I was dating Garett, so it's funny that she would like say stuff like this to me and I'd just be like, okay. So she would say some stuff like, oh, by the way, like, you know, if you ever meet someone that you want to get married to, like, just make sure he's Muslim, and then you can come to me and we'll like arrange everything. Like, she's like, I'm not a huge believer in arranged marriages. Like, I think that you and your sisters should be able to choose who you spend your life with, but they just have to be Muslim. That was the only criteria. Go find someone. But the trouble was is that I was like, I would listen to her and kind of think in my head, like, how the heck am I gonna find a Muslim person that I vibe with at Queen's University? Because Queen's University is a very white university and there was literally no one, and the few people that were Pakistani or were Muslim, I just didn't get along with them, to be honest. They were either too traditional or they like lived their whole life in Pakistan and just moved to Canada. So it's like, it just happened that I never found anyone like that, and I found Garett first. So anyway, that was the whole thing going into it. So yeah, I was anxious every day I woke up. I was super anxious. Oh man, that's when the beginning of my depression started. Before first semester of first year of university, I had never failed anything in my life. Honestly, I'd never gotten below a 65% on any assessment ever. I was just a very top achieving student. Like, I was one of those people whose identity is based on them being good at school. So I took it very seriously. But first year, just like, I was in a state, I was unable to cope with what was going on, because on one hand I was having the best time of my life because all of a sudden I had all this freedom living away from home. I met this amazing guy, Garett. We had so much fun together. It was amazing. But what bothered me and made me scared was the fact that I was living in some fantasy land and that I was going to have to confront the reality of my life at some point, and it really took a toll on me. And I failed 2 classes that semester. Just a side note. I was taking this one course, and the whole grade for that semester for this course was a book report. There was a little bit of marks that you could get from attending tutorials, but like 80% of the mark or something was from this one book report, and I just didn't do the book report. I remember a couple times actually opening up my laptop, opening up the book, like actually trying to do the work, but I could not. My motivation was like not even 0, it was below 0. I just could not care less. I actually have this one image in my head where I was sitting with the laptop open and the book, and I had this realization that this just wasn't gonna get done. There was just no way it was gonna get done, so I closed the laptop, put it away, put the book away, and just went to sleep. And anyway, the due date for the book report came and passed, and I was attending a tutorial, and the TA was like, "Hey Reed, can I talk to you?" And I said, "Yeah." She's like, "You haven't handed anything in for this assignment." I was like, "Yeah, I know." And she's like, "Are you going to hand it in?" And I just straight up to her face, I was like, "No, I don't think I am." And she's like, "Okay." And that was it. Filled that course like that. Like, it's insane. Like, that's where my mind state was. I just could not. I could not function, basically. That was first semester. Second semester went a bit better. I was still depressed, but this anxiety just kept building and building and building and building. Especially because I knew that the summer was coming, and summer was going to be really difficult because I was going to be living with my parents again, and all of the rules that inflicted my life about when I was in high school, like how I wasn't allowed to go outside with my, like I wasn't allowed to hang out with my friends that often. And basically I made a whole video about this. Watch it if you are more curious about what my parents' mindset was towards my personal freedom. But yeah, I just knew it was gonna be difficult. By this point, Garett and I had been spending basically like all of our waking hours together, and I knew that that was not going to be the case once we both moved back to Toronto. Luckily, he also lives in Toronto, so I did get to see him every now and then, but yeah, it was difficult. And somehow I got through that summer. I made it through. Like, I'm sure it was really bad, but honestly, I don't even remember all of it.
First year? Like the last week.
The last week.
Wasn't it?
Oh. Okay, that makes sense. Because I ran away twice.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Time it was like a month or something.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay. Oh, okay, this is really hard to film, but it's good.
Okay.
Okay, bye. Thanks. But yeah, it was difficult, and I had to lie constantly. Oh my god, I had to lie all the time. And you know, when you lie, you have to like remember the lie that you told because you don't want to get caught in the lie. But it's just very mentally draining and mentally exhausting because you're always trying to like keep track of what you said and make sure that everything lines up. Oh my god, it was terrible. Okay. So I made it through like pretty much the entire summer, and it was terrible and it was hard, and I'm pretty sure I cried every single day and I was super depressed, but I made it through almost. So I was working at Hudson's Bay as a sales associate that summer, and like I was saying, like my parents, they didn't really want me to spend too much time outside by myself. If I did want to go somewhere, they would constantly be calling me, like constantly being like, "What are you doing now? Like, where are you with, etc." And it's just annoying, and just like seeing their name on my phone, like calling me, it just was so anxiety causing because literally anytime they wanted, they could call me and be like, "Come home. Like, why are you still out? Like, come home." And I would just have to do it or I'd be in trouble. Basically, my friends who I met at Queen's, but they lived in Ottawa, they were visiting Toronto for the day. And I wanted to hang out with them, but I wanted to hang out with them all day. But my parents, like if I told them that my friends were coming from Ottawa to visit, they'd be fine with me spending time with them, but they wouldn't be fine with me spending time with them all day. They want to know exactly where I was, like what I was doing, like etc. And just to avoid that hassle, I lied to my mom and I said that I had a work shift that day until closing, but I never did have that work shift. So I was just saying that because when I had work, like they would never question me about it, so it was kind of an easy way to deflect some of the pressure coming from that side. So yeah, that's what I did. I told my mom I had a work shift, that I wasn't going to be home till like 10, 11, because this kind of cleared the day for me. I could literally like not worry about anything till 10 or 11. But my mom, for some reason, she wanted to visit me at work that day. She had never visited me before, but that day, the day I lied, she wanted to visit me. So she visited the store, Hudson's Bay. I was working on the second floor, ladies wear, and she went there. I wasn't there. She asked people who worked there where I was. They freaking showed her the schedule. That is a breach of privacy. First of all, they showed her the schedule and they were like, oh, she's not scheduled today. And so I get this call. My mom's like, oh my god, my mom's like, I don't even know what she said to me, whatever, but it was not good. And I went home that day and she was freaking out because before this I had never like I lied to her, but she had never caught me in a lie. Like, she didn't know that I was capable of lying. She thought I was this perfect, high-achieving student who followed all the rules. And yes, I actually was that in high school, but now that I was in university living this double life, I just really wasn't. Her view of me being this like angelic, can do no wrong entity like shattered, and it freaked her out. Like, she was going insane. She was so upset. She was crying. And this happened like a week before I was supposed to go back to Kingston. This was like the last week of August or whatever. And she started saying stuff like, you're not going back to Kingston, like, you're staying here. Like, oh, my dad was not home that night because he has sleep apnea, so he was at a sleep clinic doing a study, like staying there overnight, so he wasn't gonna come home that night, luckily. And but my mom was saying stuff like, just wait till your dad gets home, like, he finds out about this, he's not gonna let you go back to Kingston, you're not gonna go back to Queens, like, just wait, just watch. She was so angry. And I didn't know what the heck, I didn't know whether she was bluffing or, but I was not going to risk it. Like, the only thing I was holding on to all summer was being able to go back to Kingston. Like, that was the only thing that was getting me through. So the fear of me not getting that was too much. I went into like fight or flight, like adrenaline started pumping. I literally called my friend Maha and I left. She had a car, so I literally packed, like, my stuff was already kind of packed because I was getting ready to move back to Kingston, and like I put everything together and I left in the middle of the night. My mom went to sleep. I was like, I can't be here when my dad gets here because who knows what the hell is gonna happen then. Like, I'll make another video like going more deep into what happened this day and the other day where I ran away from home. It happened twice, yes, but anyway, this day it was raining and she drove me to Garett's house where I stayed for a week with his family, and then we went back to Kingston. Frick, that was scary. So that was already kind of an event that like shook us up like as a family. Like, that was all that had just happened at the end of August. Okay, so I went back to Kingston, didn't really talk to anyone, like didn't really talk to my family, whatever. They didn't talk to me, I didn't talk to them. At the end of September, I was talking to my mom again, and they like came and visited me in Kingston, and we like apologized to one another. Not really, it was more just like, I don't know, maybe we did apologize, I don't know. It was just kind of to like ease the tension and just be a family again, you know, because I don't know. So that happened in end of September. Getting into the day that this video is titled after. So that whole thing happened. It was already like a bomb that we were recovering from. So everything was already pretty fragile. And then in October was our first break back in Toronto. It was Thanksgiving weekend. Garett and I, we were in Toronto Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then we were supposed to, like, classes started again on Tuesday, so we were supposed to go back to Kingston on Monday. But I was having a really difficult time. I knew it was gonna be hard for me because how am I gonna be home after the last time I was home? I literally ran away in the middle of the night. Like, this shit was not gonna be easy for me. And I knew that. And I knew it was going to be, like, those days of that break were going to be painful. And they were going to, the hours were gonna crawl by. I just knew it. So basically what I did was I booked it was a mega bus from Kingston to Toronto on the Friday with Garrett. And then I remember like getting off the bus or whatever was scary because my dad was there, and I was like, Garrett, like go, like don't let anyone see you, just like we don't know each other, like as soon as we get off this bus, like we don't know each other, okay? Because I might think my dad was there to pick me up or something. Anyway, I got home, spent a couple days at home. Saturday was terrible, Sunday was terrible. It was just really bad. I could not be there. I just couldn't be there, and I just wanted to leave. Originally, like, we bought a ticket from the mega bus on Friday, and then we were gonna travel back to Kingston with my housemate at the time, Haley, because she had a car. So it was gonna cost us way less. But she was driving back on Tuesday. Classes started on Tuesday, but we didn't really care that much about missing the Tuesday classes. So basically I was supposed to be home in Toronto Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then go back on Tuesday. But I couldn't, if Saturday hit and I was like, I can't be here. I can only be here on Sunday, like that's it, like I can't, I just can't. So what I planned was, the story checked out, right? Like classes started on Tuesday, so obviously I'm going back on Monday. So I told my parents that I had booked a bus on Monday back to Kingston. And they're like, okay, great, perfect. But what I was really going to do was, I was going to leave my home on Monday, pretend I was going to the bus station, like pretend I was like in Kingston. But instead I was going to leave my house on Monday, not go to the bus station, go to Garett's house instead, and spend Monday with Garett and my other friends. We weren't leaving till Tuesday anyway, and I was just like, well, this would be a great opportunity for me to just chill in Toronto, just do what I want and have fun without anyone wondering where I am, just be free, you know? And then on Tuesday, Haley was gonna drive us back as normal. So that was planned. Now, this is what really happened. So that day, the Monday, I woke up and I was freaking out. I was like, oh my god, I was so anxious because I was like, if this doesn't work, like this is gonna be the end of my life. Like if they found out I'm lying about this, that's it. Like there's no way, it's it, that's it, I'm dead. So I anyway, I was trying to act cool, but I don't think I did a great job, because usually my parents at the time, they weren't really ever dropping me off at the bus station when I was going back to Kingston. Like they were just like, okay, bye. Like I would go on this, I would take an Uber or I would go on the public transit. Like for some reason I didn't think that was much of a threat. Like I didn't really think that there was going to be a high probability of them actually physically dropping me off at the bus station and seeing me off, which is why I thought I could get away with it. But I think because I was emitting such anxious energy that day, my mom picked up on it, and she was just like, hey, like, do you want us to drop you off at the bus station? And I was like, no, I'm good, like, don't worry about it. Like in my head I was like, and I was on the outside, I was like, no, like, no, that's totally fine, like, no, like, I'm good, like, but I think I was kind of like overcompensating. So she just was like, no, I think we're gonna take you to the bus station. Oh my god, even just starting this part of the story is like, oh my god, okay, sorry, deep breaths. So she was like, no, we're gonna drop you off at the bus station. I already said no, that I didn't need her to, so I couldn't really say, no, please don't, like, please don't, I'm going. Like, that would just make me seem more suspicious. So I was like, okay, yeah, fine, whatever, it's fine. And I like run upstairs and I'm, obviously I'm stressing out. stressing out so much. I'm like frantically like checking the phone, like messaging Garrett, like I don't think this is gonna work, like oh my god, this is really bad situation. He didn't know what to do. There was nothing he could do. He was just like getting updated without being able to help. And I was trying to see if there were any bus tickets that I could buy super last minute, so that I wasn't gonna travel to the bus station with my parents and then there was no bus for me to get on. But the problem was that it was Thanksgiving weekend, which is a very busy weekend, and everything was sold out. So I couldn't, there just was nothing to buy, and I don't even know how I acted. There was nothing I could do. I just had to move one foot in front of that. There was nothing. I was just stuck. I knew I was stuck, and I mean, the mature thing to do was to realize that there was no way, like I was already, the situation wasn't going to get better, there was no way out, and that I should have just admitted to them right then and there that I was lying, and maybe it would have been less of a blow. But I was young and I didn't have the courage to do that. Part of me still hoped and believed that maybe there was something that could happen that could like just get me out of this. But yeah, so I packed up my stuff, like we loaded it in the car. My younger sister Dua was with us. We're in the car, and I remember driving to the bus station. Indescribable feeling. It was probably the worst form of severe anxiety that you could ever feel. Like I was like low-key shaking, and like I was shivering, and I couldn't breathe, but at the same time I still had to like act kind of chill because maybe there was still a way out. So we were driving to the bus stop with my parents. I'm driving to get on a bus that I don't have a ticket to. We park. So Mega Bus has like different platforms, and my parents were like, oh, what platform is your bus coming on? And I didn't have a bus, so I was like, oh, I don't know. But you could see that there was like a lineup of students, and a lot of them were wearing Queen's attire, so I was like, oh yeah, probably platform 3, because there's a lot of students there, so obviously like that's where the Queen's bus was going to. But I was like, but I'm just gonna double check, let me go ask the clerk inside. So I like ran inside, and I went up to the person at the booth, and I was like pleading with her. I was like, is there any way that you can get me a ticket to Kingston today, please? Like, please, is there any way? Like, I'll pay more, like please, I need to get to Kingston today, please, like right like on the next bus. Is there any way, or just today at all, just please? And she saw how distressed I was, and she felt really bad for me. But there was nothing she could do because it was Thanksgiving. The buses had sold out weeks before, actually. I was doomed, basically. I was stuck. I went to the bathroom downstairs, and I was calling Garrett, freaking out, like crying. A lot of the feelings are coming back right now, and my heart's like exploding right now. Anyway, I was in the washroom for a while longer than normal, I guess, because my mom came to check in on me, and obviously I was like, I didn't look right, and she knew something was up. She looked worried too. She was stressed. So anyway, I was like, no, everything's fine. So I proceed to go upstairs back to the platform. When we line up with all the other Queen students, and I'm standing in line with my parents and my younger sister, and in this line for about like, what is gonna happen? There's literally nothing that can get me out of this situation. It's just, that's it. Like I'm f***ed. Like anyway, the bus comes, people start getting in, and I still like moved along with the line for a little bit until there were 10 people away from checking my ticket, which I didn't have. And I looked at my parents and I was like, we have to get out of this line. And my dad said, why? And I just didn't respond, and I just looked at them, and I just staring at them. And my mom was like, to my dad, she was like, something's wrong, like something's not right. And my dad's like, do you not have a ticket to this bus? And I just shook my head. Oh. and my parents were like, okay, come, let's go. And they were really angry, obviously, and we like walked back to the car. I remember looking at my sister Dua, like, she was really young then. I feel so bad for her having witnessed this whole thing. But anyway, I looked at her and she looked really worried, and my face was probably like distraught. And we walked back to the car, we got in, we closed the door, and that's where I'm gonna leave you. Yeah, so that's where I'm gonna end this part 1 of the video. Yeah. Quite a cliffhanger, isn't it? Like, I planned this. I'm actually still like trembling. But anyway, this is the end of this video. I'm so sorry for leaving you on this cliffhanger, but it's just gonna get way too long because the second part of the story is just as long and hectic as this first part. So yes, thank you for watching this video. If you know of anyone that would benefit from hearing my story, maybe someone who's going through something similar right now, or just anyone that you think will find some healing from the story, then please share it with them. That's why I'm making these videos, because I want people who are going through something like this, I want them to know that they're not alone, because when I was going through it, I was absolutely alone. There's nobody I could talk to about it except Garett, but there's nobody that was exactly the same situation as me that would get it. Like, Garett would hear me, but he wouldn't know what I was feeling because he wasn't the one who was going through it. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching, and the next video will come out probably next week. So yes, again, I'm really sorry for leaving you here. I'm sorry. Bye. Love you.